Hi, my name is Miroslav Polacek and it is my pleasure to welcome you in the premises of the creative point of the National Business Center of Slovak Business Agency, one of the project partners of ROB-SME project. ROB-SME is an Erasmus Plus funded project that aims to enable small and medium-sized enterprises to assess the value of robots and artificial intelligence to their business development and sustainability, and then effectively introduce them. Today, I have the pleasure to discuss the topic of robotisation and the value it may bring to small and medium-sized enterprises with Professor František Duchoň, the President of National Center of Robotics here in Bratislava, Slovakia. Professor, thank you very much. It is a pleasure to having you here.
The same on my side.
Thank you. So maybe to start things off, first of all, the big question or general question, what is robotisation?
Okay, so robotisation is a process when human work in production usually is replaced by a robot, by a machine.
Thank you. And maybe could you give some examples of the use cases of robotisation?
Yes, we have many activities which can be replaced by the robots in the production. For example, typical one is a welding or assembly. We use them for material handling, machining, spraying, loading and unloading other machines, and maybe the last very typical activity of the robot in the production is an inspection process.
Mm-hmm. And are all these processes and examples and robotisation in general reserved only for big companies, for big production plants, or can also small and medium-sized enterprises benefit from robotisation?
Yes, of course. SMEs can also benefit from the robotisation. Robots can bring added value also for small and medium companies. Currently, there are over 2 million SMEs in Europe, and the European Commission is aware that there is a lot of potential in robotics in that companies. And therefore, the European Commission supports this, the implementation of robotics in SMEs. For example, projects under Horizon 2020 and other calls with participation of SMEs are evaluated higher than others. So the participation of SMEs in such projects focused on robotics is very highly evaluated. Robotics in general, whether SMEs or not, brings higher efficiency in the production process. This is really crucial for the robotics. Of course, there are some issues which needs to be solved, but I think we will discuss it later.
Yes, sure.
This means relieving of employees of monotonous and tedious activities, and you can use their potential more creatively. This will again create another added value for the production. And the correct implementation of robotics will increase efficiency, and you will be able to produce more of your products, for example. So this is very important.
Yeah. So speaking about or touching on the topic of advantages, could you give maybe 3 to 5 key advantages that you think robotisation may bring to SMEs?
Yes, there are a lot of them, but to specify the most important, that are higher productivity, better production quality or product quality. From some specific amount of production, you can achieve lower production costs per product. You are covering the lack of qualified workforce, and you can use your machines better and more efficient because when robot is loading and unloading these machines, it is more efficient than human worker. And last and not least, you can create more attractive jobs because it is more attractive to program a robot than load and unload the machine. So this is also very important. Of course, this requires very qualified persons in your production, but these persons can be better paid. So this is a win-win situation for all of us.
Yeah. So in this last sentence, maybe you mentioned already some type of a drawback or one of the factors why SMEs maybe can can refuse the process of robotization. In our project in ROB-SME, we ran a short survey that was one of the intellectual outputs that we did priorly, and some of the factors that were quoted by the SMEs as the ones that hampered the introduction of robotics in their business were that it's typically out of reach for them, it's not their scope of business, or they consider it to be too much futuristic or sci-fi, then lack of skilled workforce, lack of finances. But I would like to hear from your opinion, what do you think are the main factors why SMEs refuse robotization or are reluctant to robotization?
By my opinion, the biggest problem is lack of funding. That is why the European Commission also is trying to support SMEs in some robotization. You must understand that SMEs maybe would like to implement some robotic solutions in their production, but taking 100,000 euros and build a robotic cell, it's not so easy, and maybe it's a very or significant risk for a company to use that money only for one robotic cell. You must understand this. Moreover, these companies probably cannot afford the robotic expert only for some few robotic cells, so they must pay some other companies to integrate the solution for them. And these robotic integrators usually do not radically, the robotic integrators usually do not directly innovate. They are deploying embedding technologies like robotics for their customers. And the customer that doesn't have any experience with the robotics, so usually it must believe him. And from my experience, I know that it often happens that SMEs are in touch with robotic sellers, and the seller would like to sell you anything at any cost. So they are saying to the SMEs that the robot will solve everything, and that's not the truth. So that's the why there is some type of disbelief in robotics. So we are fighting with it, but sometimes it is very hard, and that's the why more robots are implemented in countries like Japan or Korea, because they are not covering only big companies, but they are also covering SMEs. And from my experience, if you are in touch with an integrator, so you are the customer of that integrator, it is when you are in touch with good integrator, he will ask you a lot of questions. When somebody is asking a lot of questions, that is a good point, because he's trying to find the best solution for you. If he is only saying, okay, we will solve it, that's not good. So that's my recommendation for SMEs, that when you are doing something with robotic integrators, wait for that one who is asking a lot of questions.
Okay, that's a great recommendation. So, for example, you would say question like, what do you want to achieve or so on? Maybe we'll touch on the topic a little bit later in the discussion.